Jace Denman with Flag Family Media. I'm here with Dragon men's basketball head coach Tim Bergstraser. Coach, great week last week. Went 2-0 on the week. Road win down in Aberdeen against Northern State, then a big home win in your home opener. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on how last week went overall.
Yeah, so like we said last week too, going to Northern's never easy, and it's always just a grinder kind of game. And it was kind of a slow start. It was a 40-40 first half, so you'd think it was a high-level scoring game, which it was. But then, just in my personal opinion, our energy was just really average. Mm-hmm. And when you're playing on the road, you need to have another level of intensity and energy, especially when you're playing a team like that at their place. So we definitely picked that up a lot more in the second half, and everybody was starting to touch the ball. And then we were starting to score too. But the biggest thing is we strung stops together. And I kept telling our guys, if we could string some stops together, I really think we could separate this lead. And I think they only scored 7 points in 9 minutes, in the first 9 minutes. And that's where we busted open our lead. So to see our guys do that, I was really proud of them at that place. And then coming home was awesome. Everybody was happy to be back on their home court in front of our fans. It was a slow start. Mary did a good job of throwing a bunch of random stuff at us, trying to make us think on our feet. And it did slow the pace up. And then once we actually got used to it, which we weren't surprised by, we knew they were probably going to do that, we really started to pick it apart a little more efficiently. And then we really started. I'm glad the way we finished the half. Yeah. The last 3.5 minutes, I remember we had a timeout, and I told the guys, hey, it's a big 3 minutes. We could really do something big here to go into the half with some momentum, and they handled it really, really well. And again, it has to happen on both sides of the floor.
Well, it seems as though through the first couple games of conference play, and obviously the first full game I got to sit and watch in person here this weekend, it seems as though a couple things. It seems as though you guys can play at any type of tempo. You've got the talent and the depth to go fast and go hard for 40 minutes. But at the same time, when Mary tried to slow things down in the first half, you guys were able to be patient on offense and kind of work your way into stuff. And then they threw a full court press at you. You guys were able to break that and get into your offense. So it felt like no matter what style your opponent was going to play, you guys can adapt to that. It might take a little bit, but it would seem like it really kind of worked itself out where it didn't matter what style these other teams are throwing at you. You guys can match that style and then eventually kind of impose your will and play your kind of style.
Yeah, and we put a lot of trust in our players to make decisions. Mm-hmm. And yes, we love to play fast, and that's how we've always been in the last 10, 12 years. We want to continue to do that. But at the same time, we got to be smart about it, because there can be times if you play too fast for too long versus another team who can do that as well. You can really shoot yourself in the foot. Or if they're scoring and we keep trying to play fast, that's really going to hurt us too, because they're going to keep slowing down the pace. Right. That's how it was at Northern. They really walked the ball up the floor every time. We kept trying to run and gun, and we had to really take a step back. But I really do think with our guys, we have high IQ players, where, again, we put a lot of trust in them to play fast, but, again, like strategic transition. If we've had a couple of empty possessions, we need to be smart enough to recognize, all right, it's time to take a step back and really get a better-looking shot. So we've grown in that category, and again, I want these guys playing with freedom. I don't want them looking over to the side of the bench every single time at us. We need them to play off instinct and play freely.
Yeah, I think that's in any sport. The more you can get the players to kind of just play and react as opposed to thinking about what I'm supposed to do in a situation is always better. Talking about some of the transfers in, your starter, Jameer Price, had 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists and 7 rebounds. You had Jakir Sanchez came off the bench. He had 14 points, and I think it was either 8 points or 8 rebounds. He played really well. Jacob Jennison came in, and at a 7'1", me being height challenged a little bit, you expect him to play like a big man, and I thought he looked like he was playing like a big man. Some nice drop steps, affected shots, got some rebounds. Has everybody on this team then, including those 3 guys I just mentioned, have they really kind of found their role on this team, or is that still an ongoing process as we're only 8 games into the season?
I think guys are definitely starting to recognize what their role is, and we're very clear-cut and dry about that. Like, hey, this is what we expect out of you, and whatever, it's going to be a certain amount of minutes. And that, I told her, if everybody could, coming into our preseason meeting, I told our guys, when that time comes, when everybody could buy into their roles, I think we have a chance to be a very competitive team. And I think guys are really trusting that at this point. And it's still going to take time. Guys like our transfers especially, Jameer had some up and down games up until this last weekend, and he's been playing good for us, but he knows, myself, we all know that as a staff, he was nowhere we believed he was going to be, and I think he showed us a glimpse of that against Mary. Now he's going to get a lot more attention now when he keeps doing stuff
absolutely.
Like that. So we'll see how he responds, but he's wired to handle that kind of stuff. And then, Jakir's done a great job. He could do a little bit of everything. He's a stat sheet stuffer. Jennison, he's growing as well. He's nowhere near where he would admit where he's going to be. So it makes you eager. We believe we're doing some good things. We know we got to a lot of people coming after us, but I'm proud to see our guys handle it the way that they are.
So a couple things to kind of wrap up. Obviously, first thing, this week's rankings came out. You're up to number 5 in the country. You got that big target on your back when it comes to the rest of the NSIC. But how nice is it to see that number 5 ranking, attached to your name and kind of play up to the fact that we are getting respect nationally, not just in the conference, but nationally with what you're putting out on the court?
Yeah, it's always a good thing to get recognized that way. I mean, we don't look at the number too much. We haven't, ever since the first one came out, we had a very brief conversation about it, and we haven't talked about it since. We just have a job to do every single day, show up, make sure we're mentally and physically present, and we'll attack that day. But just as a program, university standpoint, it's awesome. I mean, you want to be competing nationally, you want to be recognized nationally, but at the same time, we can't get caught up in it because, again, like you said, we got a target on our head. We understand that. It's going to test the maturity out of our team. How are we going to approach every single day, and how are we going to be able to handle this early success?
Absolutely, you got to just stay humble, put your head down, keep working hard.
That's right.
So now we look at this weekend. You got a back-to-back Friday and Saturday. Friday night you're hosting Bemidji State. Saturday you're going to be playing St. Cloud State. What can you tell the fans kind of about those two schools and how those two matchups look for the Dragons?
Yeah, so Bemidji, they've been always the same. They have 2 really good physical big guys, and they're going to surround them with shooters. One of those big guys, I think a lot of people would argue, is potential player of the year for our league with Sutherland. And then Albrecht, he's a very physical double-double machine. So we got to test. I mean, I think we can match up with them. They got to guard us. We got to guard them. But it's going to be a heck of a game. I mean, you saw the games we played them last year, too. I mean, they've lost a couple good pieces, but they returned a lot of good pieces and brought in some more guys too. So I anticipate a very competitive game. They're gonna bring it right at us. I think it's gonna be a physical game, so we're gonna have to be ready to play. And then going to St. Cloud, it's my alma mater. I always got a little more edge when I play against them. And I respect what Q has done there. I think he's done a great job of bringing in some high-quality high school players, and the returners have grown from what I've seen on film. So it's going to be a scrappy weekend, I'll just say that. I'm anticipating these guys are going to play very physical. They're going to make us work. If we're not ready to play, they're going to expose us in a lot of areas. So we got to be ready to go from the jump.
When it comes to having a Friday evening game and then turning around and having a Saturday afternoon game, at least in the past when I went to college, you had those D2 games when it's Friday and Saturday, but it's still basically 24 hours apart. Now it's a little bit less than that. Does that factor into anything other than maybe kind of making sure guys are not so much healthy, but also got the energy level up especially on that Saturday game?
Yeah, and it's me personally, I remember how it was. Like you struggle to go up the stairs sometimes on those Saturday mornings, but I mean you got to find a way, and guys are built for that. They've experienced a little bit this year already with a non-conference schedule. But again, your opponent's not going to care if you're hurting or not, so we got to be ready to play. And it's a quick turnaround. Whether you win or lose, you got to move on the next day. We'll have a scout at like 10 o'clock that next morning. So it's quick turnaround to get your mind focused and switched on to the next opponent. And I mean, how are you gonna handle that kind of stuff? So
Absolutely.
It's again, we got to show maturity and know that we got another task to handle after that.
Well, obviously, another tough, grinded out type of weekend here in the NSIC. Looking forward to it, being here on Saturday with you guys. So best of luck this weekend, Coach.
Thank you.
And we'll be there to cover the game on Saturday. So this is Jace Denman along with head coach Tim Bergstraser. We'll talk to you soon.